Before we really get into what it is, I want to address this idea of labels being harmful. Certainly, I'm not naive enough to think that they can never be harmful. Absolutely, they can be a box for some people. They can limit what people think is possible of another person. They can color perceptions. If you're a teacher and you hear that this child's coming into your classroom and you hear that they have ADHD, the mind will fill in the blanks with what to expect based on your previous experience. But having said all that, if a person is going to be labeled, I would much rather it be an accurate label that is helpful than an inaccurate label that is hurtful. Whether I've been diagnosed with ADHD and have those letters attached to my name or not, I'm going to be labeled. The cluster of behaviors and difficulties that I have and behavioral traits, they're going to lead to a label. I'm going to be a troublemaker or the loud kid or the space cadet or dumb or lazy. Like these are all labels. And they're inarguably far more harmful than the label of ADHD, especially when we understand what that label means. If I took this list of symptoms and reframed all of them and told you that your child or spouse has the brain of a brilliant inventor, that would probably be far more palatable for many people. And in fact, that may actually be true of many of those people, but we're going to call it ADHD, and that gets people's defenses up a little bit sometimes. So let's get into what it is that we're talking about. Some of you may be well versed in what ADHD is. Some of you might be new to it. Some of you may be somewhere in the middle. When I'm meeting with people, when there's an ADHD diagnosis, typically a question I'll ask is, where does it show up in your life? How does it make a difference? How does it impact your life? And I suppose not surprisingly, but sadly, many times, even families that have been dealing with ADHD for a long time aren't really sure what is ADHD and what is not ADHD. And I will say that it's not always black and white. Sometimes it's like, I don't know, is that an ADHD thing or are they just choosing to be difficult? But that's a whole other presentation.